Okay, Hare Krishna.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 49, beginning with text number 16. And 49, Kuru's mission in Hastinapur, text number 16. Yasyan Rajan Abhyepet Abhyetya Vishamam Sputalalasam Avadat Surhidam Madhye Bandhu Bisohri Doditam. The ardent affection King Dhritarashtra felt for his sons had made him act unjustly towards the Pandavas. Just before leaving, Akrura approached the king, who was seated among his friends and supporters, and related to him the message that his relatives, Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, had sent out friendship. Akrura Vacha Bho Vaichitra Viratvam Karunam Kirti Vardana Bhartraya Uparate Panda Adusanam Ashtitaha. Akrura said, "Oh, my dear son of Vichitravirya, O enhancer of the Kuru's glory, your brother Pandu having passed away, you have now assumed the royal throne." Purport. Akrura was speaking ironically, since the young sons of Pandu should have actually been occupying the throne. Upon the death of Pandu, there were too young and immediately govern, and so were put in Dhritarashtra's care. But now sufficient time has passed, and their legitimate rights should have been recognized. Text 18. Dharmena palayan urdvim prajashilena ranjayan vartamana samasweshu shreya kirtam avapsyase. By religiously protecting the earth, delighting your subjects with your noble character, and treating all your relatives equally, you will surely achieve success and glory. Purport. Akrura told Dhritarashtra that even though he had usurped the throne, if he now ruled according to the principles of Dharma and behaved properly, he could be successful. Text 19. Anyata tvachalar loke garhito yayase tamaha tasmat samatve vartasva pandeshve shatmajeshu cha. If you act otherwise, however, people will condemn you in this world, and in the next life you will enter the darkness of hell. Remain equally disposed, therefore, towards Pandu's sons and your own. Purport. Dhritarashtra's whole problem was his excessive attachment to his nasty sons. That was the fatal flaw that caused his downfall. There was no lack of good advice from all sides, and Dhritarashtra even admitted that the advice was sound, but he could not follow it. One can have clear, practical intelligence when the mind and heart are pure. Text number 20. Neha chatyanta samvasa kasyachid kenachit saha rajan svenapi dehena kim u jayatma jayadibihi. In this world, no one has any permanent relation with anyone else, O king. We cannot stay forever, even our own body. What to speak of our wife, children, and the rest. Ramananda? Thank you. Eka prasuyate jantur. Eka, this is text 21. Eka eva praliyate. Ekanu bhungte surhitam. Eka eva cha duskritam. Every creature is born alone and dies alone, and alone experiences the just rewards of his good and evil deeds. The term anubhunkte is significant here. Bhunkte means the living being experiences, and anu means following or in sequence. In other words, we experience happiness and distress according to the moral and spiritual quality of our activities. We are responsible for what we do. Dhritarashtra was falsely and obsessively attached to his evil-minded sons, forgetting that he alone would have to suffer for his imprudent behavior. Text number 22. Adharmo pachitam vitam harante anye alpamedasam. Who knows this? Who knows that word? Alpamedasam. Where is that found? Anybody? A little trivia there. Alpamedasam.
Those who worship demigods, they're of little less intelligent.
Yeah, so alpa, you find this word a couple times in Bhagavad Gita. Like there's this alpa trayate mahatobaya. Just a little bit of spiritual life can protect. So alpa means just like a little, like you say, swalpam, just a little. And meda means brain substance. And so in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says those who have not too much brain substance, they're actually, their faith is, Krishna arranges their faith to be driven towards the devas because they're not interested in spiritual life. He arranges them to take shelter of the devas, and the devas can only provide temporary results. And if you're the eternal being searching after only temporary results, Krishna says you don't have much brain. Alpamedasam. So here, the same word, this kind of same harsh term is there. Alpamedasam. One second. We go up to verse 20. Next one more last verse. So we read this verse. In the guise of dear dependence, strangers steal the sinfully acquired wealth of a foolish man, just as the offspring of a fish drink up the water that sustains the life of a fish. So if you put a fish in a small bowl, then you don't put a little air filtration where it brings the oxygen into the water. If you just put it in a little bowl, the air will the fish or the offspring of the fish that's there will breathe in or drink up the water that sustains the fish. It will take all the oxygen out, and eventually the fish will die. They need that air. The what's the word? Proper word? Aeration. I've never had a fish tank. Purport: ordinary people feel that they cannot live without their wealth, although their possession of it is circumstantial and temporary. Just as wealth gives life to an ordinary man, water gives life to a fish. One's the dear dependence, however, steal one's wealth, just as the fish's offspring drink up the water that's sustaining the fish. In the words of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this world is a weird abode. And the last verse, Pushnat nanti yan adharmena swabhudaya tvam apanditam te krityartam prahin vanti prana raya. See you later, Ramananda. Have a good day. So you have a jacket? Okay. Sudadaya. A fool indulges in sin to maintain his life, wealth, and children, and other relatives, for he thinks these things are mine. In the end, however, these very things abandon him and leaving him frustrated. Purport: in these verses, Akrura is giving rather frank advice to Dhritarashtra. Those who know the story of the Mahabharata will realize how relevant and prophetic these instructions are. How much Dhritarashtra suffered for not accepting them. I mean, he saw his son get his heart ripped out in front of him. Great suffering. Although one tenaciously clings to his property, at the end it is all lost. And the blundering soul is swept away by the wheel of birth and death. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Katanchana Smite Yasmin Dushkaram Shukaram Bhavet Vismite Viparitam Shad Shri Chaitanya Namamitam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is Akrura's been sent by Krishna to go see how his dear relatives, dear friends are doing. And he went to Hastinapur and he met the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and he met Kunti, and with tears in her eyes, she's sharing the kind of mistreatment that they're receiving there, the abuse and mistreatment that they're receiving there. And Akrura is going to speak directly to the person who's in charge, Dhritarashtra, and he's speaking these very strong words. Also Vidura, he met with Vidura. Vidura was also sharing the hardships that they're going through. Later on, Vidura, he left under such hardships. He left the kingdom. He went on pilgrimage, was it for, I think, 8 years or so? And then he came back and he spoke in a similar way to Dhritarashtra. And it was finally after the death of all of his sons, after the death of millions and millions of soldiers, after he was living, as Vidura says, like a dog in the house of the master whom he tried to kill. He's living in the house of Bhima, whom him and his sons have performed great atrocities. He's living as like a beggar, like a dog inside that house, living off of their charity, living off of their food and their kindness. Vidura spoke again, this sadhu, these very sharp words that cut away ignorance. And so here, this Akura is speaking. Oftentimes we're told, to be careful not to speak to a foolish person who is not willing to hear. There is no recourse, however, when the person is actually in charge. There's not really anyone else to go to. And so he's going right to the king, a relative of his own, and he's speaking very strong words, despite the king's position and respectability and nobility, great upbringing, education, and power and prestige. He is speaking negatively. Kunti and Vidura also, although devotees, are speaking quite negatively. They're lodging complaints and speaking about hardships. And so how is this relevant for us? How many of us are great, know any great kings? How many of us have people that we know that are conspiring to kill others? We might not feel that we are, this is relevant, but it's actually extremely relevant. We find that it is because of the strong attachment that Dhritarashtra had. He could not do the right thing due to his extreme attachment. And that is often the case for all of us, that due to attachment, we're not able to do the right thing. And we find all the time, you find somebody who is in the medical industry, and you see them, they're saying, it says smoking kills, and you see the doctor is outside. He has the intelligence, he has the even wisdom. He has seen personally, tended for and cared for those who are dying due to lung cancer, but out of attachment, he's not able to do the right thing. We've heard about trans fats, or the dangers of the addictive aspects of the internet. But still, out of a strong attachment, we find ourselves falling into the same mistakes over and over again. You have those who maybe in America, we have these very unique sicknesses. You won't find anyone in India that is 800 pounds or more. How do you say 800 pounds in kilograms? What's the size there? 800 pounds in kilograms. Quickly ask your phone, but I doubt it's you'll find even someone half that size. And the doctor tells them, the friends tell them, they tell themselves, but due to extreme attachment, one is not able to change one's habits. So it's actually quite relevant. This 362 kilograms. Have you ever heard of anybody that was 362 kilograms in India? Gautam Ghosh? Anybody with that kind of weight?
360 kilogram.
Yes. Anybody weighs that much in India?
360. Maybe 57.
Maybe. I highly doubt it. If that is what 800 pounds is. I personally saw a famous musician who was 700 pounds, just over 300 kilograms. All of you might have heard of a song. He sang that beautiful song, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, by Brother Israel Kamakaviviole. He performed at my high school during my junior year, and they had to use a special lift. He didn't come in through the front door, came through the back, and he performed the song there. But he died at the age of 28 of a heart attack. And everybody appreciates his beautiful music, his heartfelt music. But we see, due to attachment, we often are not able to do the right thing. If you examine the history of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, what is the biggest blemish? The biggest blemish on our history is the abuse of children that happened primarily in the 70s and 80s, but still often happens. And what is one of the reasons why such abuse is not properly addressed? Attachment. We may be very attached to the persons, like Dhritarashtra, very attached to the persons who were involved. That person was very nice to me. I can't imagine they would hurt a child or beat their wife, or I can't imagine what to speak of the horrible acts that are actually quite foreign to the minds of most people. But due to that attachment, we find that we're often not able to do the right thing. And so here, Akura is speaking how we should actually become detached. Akura was just saying prayers earlier. What was his prayers? His prayers were to Krishna in the previous chapter. Please help me become detached from my family connection, so I can actually have a pure heart, so I can have that samadarshana, pure vision, where I treat people equally. Kunti was also saying these prayers in the first canto, that a prayer for detachment. Because the attached mind, as we see, will not listen, will not hear, and not follow good instructions. Even if the mind, the intelligence says this makes sense, they cannot follow. So in Western philosophy, you have two terms for approach towards moral philosophy. You have basically a spectrum called, I spoke about this before, consequentialism on one side and deontology on the other side. And so deontology is something is good in its inherent state, and that goodness is established by some type of transcendent authority. It's good, it's always good, and it is established by a transcendent authority. It says so in the Bible, it must be so. It says so in this scripture, it must be so. This is the way it is. And then the other side is consequentialism, where this is two sides of a spectrum. The other side is consequentialism. Consequentialism is something is good if we consider the consequence good. And the extreme side of consequentialism is nothing is necessarily good. It's only the outcome of the consequence. And what are some of the issues that could come up with that? Question. Krishnadaya is ready.
We may not be able to properly decipher the whole consequences or the long-term consequences and short-term.
So you have A, B leads to C, leads to D, leads to E, leads to J, Q, X, Z. We don't know what's going to happen. Very good point. And Adi Purusha Prabhu, he had his hand up.
Sri Prahlad was saying recently, there's a term they use called collateral damage. You know that?
Yes, yes.
So there, in the course of some conflict, to defeat an enemy that's causing difficulty to others, they launch some rocket or missile and bomb, and they stop the evildoer, but there are some nearby residences and some people die. So they say that's collateral damage. We didn't intend it, we would not prefer it. It's unfortunate these people were innocent and that was not our target, but in order to extricate the aggressor, there was some other people were injured or killed. It's called
So
collateral.
it's a concept of the ends justifies the means, and it may not always appear to be justified. Another problem with consequentialism is, what is a good consequence? I'm hungry. Krishnaya has some good food in his house. I go to his house, I kick him out, and I take it and I sit in his couch and I eat his food. Good consequence. I like it. I get the good food, and nobody's troubling me. So
Moral
consequence.
relativism.
Yeah, it's very relative. There's no sense of any type of absolute anything that has substantial value. It is only up to what we consider to be a good consequence. And most moral understanding today is definitely on the strong side of consequentialism. Now, what's wrong with deontology? Prabhupada gave an example of what's wrong with deontology. Jeff Yacker said, if it feels good, it must be right. This is a nice. What is the term he said? It disappeared from the chat.
Emotivism, Prabhu.
So if it feels good for me, it's good. Might makes right. If I live, I must be good. The gods have favored me. You died. You didn't survive. You were bad. The gods didn't favor you. If I am a devotee, and you're saying I did something wrong, but I still have my position, my power. The God has favored me. He is my mafioso. He's on my side. He's not on your side. Consequentialism. What are some issues with consequentialism? Not consequentialism, deontology. Where we just examine something is right in its own merit, and that's it. It stands alone on that thing itself. Prabhupada gave a nice example for it.
Like blind following, like, is a consequence potentially. Like I'm thinking.
Yes. Not thoughtful, not just complete blindness.
And
so
factionalism.
Yeah, so Prabhupada gave the example of the man who was running from the mafia. He was running from the mafia, and he said, "Hide me." He went to a Brahmana's house. He said, "Oh yes, come up, go up in the attic." Then the mafia came and said, "Is this guy here?" And he said, "Yes, he's up in the attic. I'm a Brahmana. I do not lie." And then Prabhupada said, the mafia came. They killed that poor man. And he said that Brahmana, he went to hell because he did not tell a lie. So he was considering, satyam, truth. It is always good. And satyam, it is definitely good. But we find that there is a hierarchy of moral values. In the Bhagavad Mahabharata, you have so many exercises of these moral values that are given. And one of the things that the Bhagavatam states is that that which doesn't cause harm to others. This is the one of the highest considerations. The Bhagavatam and the Gita will take it in a deeper step. That which does not, that which actually is increasing or connecting you to Krishna, that is of the highest value. So the principle of non-violence, not hurting somebody, was more important than, not telling a fib that the guy's hiding in the attic. Actually, there is a history in World War II where two nuns who are sisters were hiding Jews in their basement, and one on her religious convictions lied, and everybody was safe, and one on her religious convictions told the truth, and everyone was harmed. So deontology alone is a sense of thought, without any kind of thought. I've heard this, I should follow this, without a type of a broad thinking, with a spiritual intelligence. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, Krishna says, I think it's chapter 18. Let's see if I can find the verse. One second. He talks about both deontology and consequentialism in one verse. Sequence. Anybody can find it before me, please go for it. Okay, maybe it's chapter 17. It could be chapter 17. Let's see. Thank you. I could not find it. But he talks about an action that does not consider the consequences or the import of Scripture. That such an action is in the mode of ignorance. It says both. The one must consider the consequence. Therefore, we have this famous example between Arjuna and Draupadi and Ashvatthama. Krishna says, kill him. Bhima says, kill him. Arjuna's like, yeah, I want to kill him. Draupadi says, don't kill him. Yudhishthira says, don't kill him. And Krishna says, what are you going to do? God's telling you to kill him. And Arjuna does not kill him. They all have different arguments based on Scripture. And Arjuna follows he kills him in a way without killing him. And Krishna is pleased by this, even though Krishna told him specifically to do one action, because he engaged that type of broad spiritual intelligence. He was pleased because his action was not just a mindless type of blind following, but it was actually engagement of one's God-given intelligence. So definitely very relevant for the devotees in practicing Krishna consciousness in our modern age. We find our society still struggles with the protection of children, still struggles with leadership issues, and oftentimes we struggle to do the right thing because of attachment. And here Akuru is saying one must abandon that attachment and do the right thing, have a spiritual vision versus an attached vision, where one is favoring one's artificially favoring one's friends, or afraid of perhaps losing a service or losing a position or losing favor with others. We find here Kunti is speaking up against a bad authority. Vidura himself, these are devotees, but they're speaking negatively. You find Akura, he's speaking harshly. Nobody's saying, hey, you shouldn't say that. That is an aparad to offend a noble person, a person in power. So although it is very important to not offend great personalities, although it is very important to not offend a person who is taking a leadership position, one must not blindly follow. One must use one's spiritual intelligence and consider the consequences and worked in a spiritually attached, materially detached way where we can make sure that all are cared for and protected. This is 713, 1713, is that what you said? No, I don't think that is. Wait. No, that's not. Sorry. Thank you. It has the word consequence in it, I think, something like that. Without considering the consequences. It's probably about action. The modes in action. Thank you, Krishna Prabhu. So I will stop here. So there, please share some questions or comments, reflections.
Yes, question.
I have a question.
Yes.
So earlier you talked about if you don't aerate the fish tank, the fish and the baby fish will drink up the water that gives them life. Can you elaborate on what like the metaphor means?
Oh, this is Dhritarashtra. He's being told that his kids, that all of us are taking birth millions and millions of times. And the people that are in our family are essentially strangers that we're with for a very short time. And that oftentimes we find that, near the death of somebody, when say if someone's very wealthy, the family members are just waiting for that person to die so they can take that person's wealth, take that person's inheritance, their home. They're considering that person, if someone's 80, 90 years old, 100 years old, we consider that person is just a burden. We don't want to say it out loud, but very much loudly in the mind. The dreaming, oh, what will I do with that person's wealth? What will I buy? I'll buy this when my father dies, my grandmother dies. I'll buy this. I'll buy that. I'll have this. I'll have that. And he said, this is like the fish, the offspring of the fish. It's considered very close and dear to the fish, but that same fish, those same little fish, are wanting to suck up they're inherently sucking up the life of the parent.
Mm.
So Dhritarashtra, he was not a good son. Of course, it's not that we all have, every child is bad, but he was not a good son. And all this affection that was causing the king Dhritarashtra to not punish his impudent, his very horribly behaved son, was not helping anyone. It was actually causing great distress for the entire world.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Rasanath was explaining that Sarva Dharma Parityagya, abandon all these other dharmas, Krishna says, and just surrender to me. So he said other dharmas are compromised. Dhritarashtra was following the dharma of a father. The father is supposed to care for his son, protect his son, elevate his son. But by following the dharma of the father, he neglected, and this is the problem, what will please Krishna. Just like, what will please, if we neglect what Krishna wants, just like the classic example is Jesus with Pontius Pilate. You know that?
Please share.
He was put before the judge. And the judge was a ruler, and his uh, duty was to make sure that everybody was peaceful in his area of responsibility. And he said to Jesus, "What is your background?" And Jesus said, "I'm here to speak the truth. And those who want to hear the truth will hear my voice." And Pontius Pilate was like, "Truth? What is truth? Can we know it?" He was thinking that, who the hell knows what the truth is, Let's be practical here. The people are yelling and screaming, "Kill him, kill him." So neglecting any idea of fairness, any idea of what is God's will, he said, "All right, kill him," right? Being a pragmatist, he did what was practical, but it had nothing to do with godliness. So if we follow any other kind of a dharma, any other kind of a criteria for deciding what to do, except what does Krishna want? And in the case of Arjuna, he broke all the rules. Fight against your teacher, kill your grandfather, kill your relatives, strike below the belt, attack someone who's fallen off his chariot, because he followed what Krishna asked him to do. All the other rules were irrelevant. But if we follow so many rules and we forget the real principle of what is correct, what is right, and we neglect to do what Krishna asks us to do, then it's a mess, right?
Thank you, thank you. I found we're able to find the verse. I just want to read the verse, and then we have Bhima has got his hand up. So this is Bhagavad Gita 18:25. Also, I would like to mention today is Gopal Bhatt Goswami's is it appearance day or disappearance day? You can go on YouTube. I think Amarendra Prabhu has a nice video about his life and teachings, not to be missed. So here's the verse: Anubandham Shayam Himsam Anapeksham Chaparusham Mohad Arambhyate Karma Yatatama Samuchate. That action performed in illusion, in disregard to scriptural injunctions. So that's deontology. And without concern of future bondage, that's consequentialism, or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. And so that is one considers these things. Otherwise, that action is considered the mode of ignorance. Bhima Prabhu. Maybe he is off the air. Is he there? I think he's always out in the country in the snow. So he might have been cut out. I'll read the purport. One has to give an account for one's actions to the state or the agents of the Supreme Lord, called the Yamadutas. Irresponsible work is destructive because it destroys the regulative principles of scriptural injunction. It is often based in violence and is distressing for other living entities. Such irresponsible work or action is carried out in the light of one's personal experience. So it's carried out because of our own attachments, our own personal attachments. Kunti's family members are devotees, but she's saying, cut my attachment. Does that mean I don't want to be around devotees? She means she wants to cut the material connection that she has and only have it on the pure spiritual connection. She's not saying, I don't want to be around devotees. She says, I want to have that connection to be completely pure, not based on just familial attachment. This is called illusion, purport. And all such illusory work is a product of the mode of ignorance. So we don't want to act on the mode of ignorance. We want to act on that pure spiritual platform. Any other last reflections, comments? I think we got just about a minute.
Nityananda, who gets to decide what's Krishna's will and what's not? How do we know?
His Holiness Prahladananda Swami asked this question to Prabhupada, when you're not here, how do we know? And Prabhupada said, you may try, and you'll probably do the wrong thing. He said, whenever he asked a question to Prabhupada usually gave him sarcastic answers. That was his relationship, Prabhupada would. But the way he understood it is that generally without a type of spiritual maturity, we won't really know what is the right thing. It is not a formula. There's no substitution other than becoming advanced in Krishna consciousness. Somebody might, we have to actually become spiritually advanced. Otherwise, we'll probably do the wrong thing. And as we grow, we might have better.
If I want to tell Padayatra what to do, I have to become advanced first. Is that right?
We have Adipurusha Prabhu. He's raising his hand. We got to hear from advanced souls. So then we can.
First of all, do we ask Krishna what he wants? Very good question. How do you know what Krishna wants? Some people don't ask; they just try to figure it out, or they go by some other. Do we say, Lord, what do you want? If we put it before the Lord, Krishna is perfectly capable of answering. He can answer through a voice from the sky, through a dream, through a child, through a madman, through a book. Krishna will answer. But if I have an attachment, Prabhupada says, or if I have an aversion, I want this answer, I don't want that answer, I like this, I don't want that, then we can't hear Krishna speak. And in the Bible there's that one story where he put out a fleece. We'll continue.
Thank you, Adipurusha Prabhu. Stay for the afterglow if you can. Nitai Chand, you have a few minutes for the afterglow? You want to stay?
A little bit, yeah.
If not, Bhima Prabhu will answer the questions. Bhima and Krishna Daya, they're the most advanced after Adipurusha Prabhu. And
Bhima, is it snowing out there? Look at it, it's snow out there. Look. Wow.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. We once had a guest here at the hostel, and he was convinced that he was Jesus and that God talks to him in his dream. And he told us that God told me that I shouldn't be paying for my stay, and we couldn't argue with that. He had the hair, the mustache, the sandals, everything, just like Jesus. But and we had to let him go eventually. But yeah, what really comes to mind when we have this dilemma, is that what Krishna wants, or maybe that's just what the temple president wants, or how do I know? And what's always comes to mind is that we may be deficient in so many ways. We may be blind, deaf, stupid, but Krishna is perfectly capable of communicating the message to us. Krishna is not deficient. He knows how to get through to us. So that's always a nice thing to remember, that we may be incapable, but Krishna is capable. Through the spiritual master, through a madman, or Bhima Prabhu, he says he only gets his answers from a madman, through a madman. Right.
And Srila Prabhupada asks us to become independently thoughtful, meaning Krishna gives us intelligence, and so we have to exercise that spiritual intelligence, just like Arjuna did. Arjuna, in the question of, do we kill Ashwatam or not? He didn't just do what Krishna told him. He didn't just do what Draupadi told him, but he took all that spiritual, all these sources, and he engaged that spiritual intelligence, and Krishna was very satisfied with what he did.
So he didn't do what Krishna told him to do? Can you elaborate on that?
Krishna told him, kill him.
Sounds outrageous. Oh, kill him. Okay.
Kill him. And he didn't do it. And Krishna was satisfied.
Try. I'm going very esoteric here. We're going to have to elaborate on that. Next time Nitai Chand is giving class, so we're going to ask you that question. Bhima Prabhu.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol. Hare Krishna. Yeah, I think that I can't even remember the words Nityananda Chandra was using, but I'm always of the mindset that all's well that ends well. And we can see that, whether it be in the broader aspect of the movement and all the growing pains that we have had as a movement, we've come through troubles and challenges, and it's ending well. We're becoming very mature. And that also, on a microcosmic level, or personally speaking, amongst ourselves, we'll always go through challenges. And Krishna gives us these challenges. And I think that this waiting to find out what Krishna wants from us, what is it that Krishna wants us to do in a time of choice? Krishna does lay these choices out over and over and over again. And when we choose the wrong direction, we will get a result. And the one thing about Krishna consciousness is that I have noticed in the movement is that we have an incredibly intelligent disciples. Everyone, even the most simplest disciple is incredibly intelligent naturally. And I think that all of us have the gift of introspection. And that when we do make those choices, those subtle choices, whether it be in leadership roles, or whether to wash the dishes or not, or should I volunteer to do this, or should I go to India, or should I not? Of course, it is the regulations are laid out for us for what choices not to make. And if we simply do what Prabhupada has asked us to do, as Adi says, Jesus says, if you love me, you'll obey me. And I remember Naranjana Maharaj, they were talking about prema and stuff like that. And he goes, we must not forget, with all this highfalutin talk of Krishna's conjugal pastimes, that we must begin with obedience. So if we simply follow the four regulative principles strictly, which I say with a twisted tongue, and we chant our 16 rounds, meaning we give Krishna the priority in our day, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will add it unto you. Then that in that day, because that's all we have to worry about. All we have to worry about, sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. Unto this day is everything that we need to do. There's no tomorrow. Yesterday's gone, and then we'll find, if we're intuitive, which devotees are, as we join the movement, that if we wait, Krishna will whisper. In that way, he'll show us, see, I'm pleased, so I'm going to give you a little push, a little wind at your back. I'm going to send a devotee in your life who's going to help you accomplish this. I'm going to give you a little bit more facility, you know, because I'm really pleased with which way this is going. So Krishna is always responding to us. We just have to pay attention. And we also just have to remember that Krishna is the doer. Material nature and Krishna is the doer. And the only thing that we have is desire. And so this whole esoteric aspect of whether Krishna is talking to us through a dream, which I've seen many people have dreams and do the wrong thing, including myself, or this or that or the other thing. Ultimately, we have to be quiet. We have to handle things one day at a time. And we always have to pray and put Krishna first. And Krishna will surely make himself known. Just like if we, Queen Kunti, just like if we jumped into a strong raging river, which is Krishna's will, he'll eventually get us to that ocean and across it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Bhima
Bhima Prabhu.
Kaviraj. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada, he tried so many things before coming to the West, and not all of them worked. But still, he didn't think that, oh, that must be that Krishna doesn't want it, so I'm going to stop trying. This is the Krishna consciousness movement, and we won't know until we try. So don't be shy, try things out, and Krishna will back you up. There's a thing called paralysis by analysis, right? When we analyze so much that we just don't get anything done. So it's better to try in the surrendered state of mind, thinking, Krishna, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying, please. And then we try things out and find out. Yeah. What is it? Mess around and find out. Krishna will make himself visible and audible. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Damodara Priya says, me too. I know it well. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhus and Prabhujinis. It was nice seeing you. Nitai Chand, Padayatra, it was nice seeing you. Gentlemen, have a wonderful day. Yeah, nice seeing everybody. And please come back tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. Hare Krishna. Krishna is speaking through. Krishna is speaking here a lot. I feel. Okay, Hare Krishna.